Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Aaron. Today I wanted to go over a few tips and tricks that I've learned over a couple of years of owning my BMW M4. I hope you guys will find them helpful. So let me jump right into number one. Okay, the first feature I want to talk about I think is the most important because it really caught me off guard. So it is the rocks behind the dust shield. As you know, most cars have a dust shield. This little metal lip back here that is behind the rotor, my nice rusty one from rain. So what is a super common occurrence on this car is a rock will get stuck in there and your wheel and your rotor are turning like this and that rock is just stuck, scratching, making this terrible sound. You're gonna think your wheel is gonna fall off. I was driving down the interstate like within 1 month of owning this car. Actually, my wife was driving. I made her pull over and stop, and not knowing what was wrong, we ended up getting a tow truck. And so I got this towed all the way back to the dealer. The dealer didn't even know what it was. After looking at it, they couldn't find any problem. And that's because after they took the wheel off to try to diagnose it, the rock fell out, I'm sure. So knowing this ahead of time could have saved me a lot of trouble. The only reason I found out about it is because I started searching the forums and I found out about the information there. The dealership didn't even know this was a common occurrence. So tip number 2 comes from starting your vehicle for the first time after you haven't started it in a while and it's cold. I'm going to go ahead and start it up here. So you can see right here by the tach that there are several red sections and a yellow section. So this is BMW's way to actually force you to not damage your engine because it will not allow you to get the revs up too high. And as your engine warms up, those red bars will drop off like you just saw there. Now there's only 4 of them with an orange, and after your engine is completely warm, it drops down to only 2 red bars and 1 orange one. So if you've ever tried to floor it right when you start it and you just don't feel like you have the same power, that's why. Also, if you have this set up for your heads-up display, you will see the same markers in the heads-up display. So tip number 3 is obviously only applicable to DCT cars. There is a kick down button behind the accelerator pedal. So if you press the pedal all the way down to the floor, you'll feel it stop. But if you press it a little further, there's a little detent button right there. That's called the kick down button. So if you're cruising along and you really need to overtake somebody or you just want to have a lot of fun, you press the pedal all the way down and push that kick down button in, and what your car will do is automatically find the lowest gear that's safe to be shifted into, and it'll shift into that gear. So if you're cruising around in 7th gear and you press it down and you're not going that fast, you can drop it down to the 3rd gear and you're really going to take off, get the full power out of that car. And great for passing and lots of fun. Now, one little warning, a lot of people attribute spinning the crank hub to overuse of this feature of the car, especially if you don't have a stock car and you've done a lot of mods to up your horsepower. They say that that extra torque on the crank hub is what causes the issue sometimes, but you know, still fun. Tip number 4, these 8 buttons across here, have you ever used them? Do you know what they do? Because they are pretty awesome. So they are actually touch sensitive. They are physical buttons that you can press in, but also if you just put your finger on them and touch them as I slide across and you look at the top of the display, you can see that it changes. So I only have buttons 1, 2, 3, and 8 programmed right now. So if I just set my finger on number 1, it will tell you it's my music presets. And number 2 is going to show you that it's a sports display. Number 3 says it's a tire pressure monitor. So you can set all of these buttons to do specific things. So if you physically press these buttons, it will do what you programmed to do. So number 2 is my sport display, so I can get quick access to that. If I press number 3, it will take me to my tire pressure monitors, so I can check on my tire pressures and temperatures. And I program number 8 so that if I press it, it will give me guidance to my home immediately. So once I learned about these features, I've really used them a lot. Number 1 is the most commonly used one. It just goes straight to my radio presets. And it's really easy to program these. You just go into your menu and whatever you want to program it to. So if you wanted to program it to your trip computer as one of the buttons,
you just go to number 4 or one that's not programmed. You hold it in when you are on the item that you want to program it to. So if I go into trip computer, that's the stuff that I would see. So just back out of this, go back to my radio presets, and now that I've programmed number 4, if I hit 4, it takes me right there to my trip computer. So somewhat similar to that feature, you have these two M buttons, an M1 and an M2 here on your steering wheel, and they can be programmed to use these specific buttons here for your shifting, your suspension, and your steering feel. So with my car running, you can see that when it starts up normally, it is in efficient and sport. That is my default. I do not have a suspension there because it came with the suspension, but I programmed it out when I put in my new KW suspension. But by pressing this here, you can toggle through sport, sport plus, back to efficient. So you can either use your iDrive to go into the menu and set up your options here, or you can just set them up how you like them. And you just hold the button in with a long press, like this. After 3 seconds, you'll hear that little chime, and they are set. So the way I have mine, I have M1 set to Sport Plus and Sport for steering. So it's in M dynamic mode. And when I want to have a lot of fun with the car, this is the setting that I keep it in. And I have M2, if I press M2 here. It will always prompt you to confirm if you have MDM off. And the only difference for me is M2 has the DSC all the way off because that is what you need in order to engage the launch control. So whenever I need to do launch control, I just go to M2.
So if you guys are new to the channel, I would encourage you to look around and check out a lot of the DIY stuff I have on here. If you are a DIYer, you might be interested in this shirt. There is a link in the description, but I would really encourage you guys to get your hands dirty, do a lot of the work on your cars yourself. If you look at some of my videos, you'll see that I make it as simple as possible. Anybody can really do this stuff, so just give it a try. If there's anything else you guys want to know about this car, please leave a comment in the description. As soon as I post part 2 of this video, all the subscribers will be notified if you click that little bell. And if you're watching this in the future and part 2 is already available, I will put it in one of these little boxes next to here so you can continue on and watch part 2. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.